Howdy, y'all.
I'm Leslie.
And I'm Laurie, and welcome to
Sumo Kaboom, where we talk about all things sumo.
That's right, and get ready for a sumo-adjacent podcast today.
That's right. We're not doing sumo.
We're kind of doing sumo. Remember?
We're doing warrior. We're doing samurai class.
Yeah. Remember in the last basho when Leslie was talking about you might see people dressed up as samurai warriors in the audience. And I was asking all these questions like, what would that look like? Can you give me an idea? Like, are there women samurai? And that sort of led us down I don't know about you, but this was a deep rabbit hole that I could have spent weeks and weeks in.
Yeah, this is like a multi-part series, but we're not going to do that.
No.
Because you know what, the Banzuke comes out like on the 26th. Like, we've got stuff we'll be talking about in the future.
But we wanted to talk about female samurai, what we found out, and, maybe just a couple of interesting ladies you should know about that were samurai in Japan.
And perhaps we might see one of these Onna Bugeishas in the audience at the tournament, perhaps. Who knows?
That would be cool. That would
be really cool.
Yeah.
But mostly it's guys. But hey, a girl can dream. Shall we jump to a news flash?
Sure.
It's all fluff right now. It's all like cute pictures of these guys on tour, practicing, that kind of thing. But there was a little article where Onosato was interviewed about a possible promotion to Ozeki in the fall. And if you remember, he had nine tournament wins last time around. And then he needs 12 in this tournament to get him to Ozeki. As far as how he feels about it, he says about himself, I was able to pull myself together and realize that I wasn't losing more than I won, which is about the last tournament. It was a tournament that helped him grow a lot. And he said, I will do my best in the remaining days in the tour so that I can achieve good results and hopefully stay injury-free, which is kind of what it is for all of them, just how long they can stay injury-free. So that's one tidbit of news. The other one was I got to view 3 solid hours, even though I'm actually only halfway through, the competition, the eating and singing competition that happened. I think it was like August 15th. I have not gotten to the singing portion yet. I encourage you to find it online. It is a total joy. And I imagine there's much more joy in store for me when I watch the singing competition. But the first solid hour, is just watching sumo wrestlers in their most natural state, which is eating. I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, is that each Ichiman, there's like 5 Ichiman, has sent like a senior wrestler and like a young wrestler. And I imagine that's for strategy, because you need an old steady guy who's been eating a lot for a long time. And then you need the hunger of a young one.
Who's the best eater in the entire
I knew you were going to
stable?
ask that. Well, right now it's really neck and neck with Isagahama Ichiman and Nishonoseki Ichiman. And Nishonoseki Ichiman is Shona no Umi and Tamawashi. And then the number 1 right now is the Isagahama Ichiman, which is Takara Fuji and Atami Fuji. And it's just them eating. They do like cutaways and talk about this special chanko that they're eating and all the things they're eating. So it's like part cooking show, and then it's like picture in picture with the wrestler just shoving enormous amounts of food into their mouths. It's like uncomfortable and then also fascinating, because this is like the only opportunity you can see them where they're not performing, they're just eating, and then they occasionally show an empty dish to the camera and they're like, and more, and I'll have more, and I'll have more. But right now, I did grams to pounds. They're like well over 6,000 grams, which is like somewhere around 13 pounds of food between these two guys.
Oh my God.
It is unbelievable.
How is
and
this
scale.
not a hit show in America?
I mean, I think it's totally fascinating. And also all the different chonko recipes and all, it's not just chonko, you know, they're eating egg omelet, like they're eating lots of rice, they're eating all their little specialty things. It's a real who's who of eaters. And it's funny, you can kind of hear them be like, they're interviewed and they're like, who do you think is going to be your toughest competition? And they're like, Diamami, hands down. Like it's really... It's really funny in some way to be like, they all know who was like the most massive eaters. And Shona Naomi was the one who really surprised me. He has a perfect belly. He really does. And his eating style reflects that perfect belly. So if you can find it online, I think it might be a little hard to find. You may have to get sneaky with finding it, but it is completely enjoyable. And I don't even know how these guys are going to sing afterwards. Hopefully these guys aren't the ones who are singing. Hopefully they bring out the singers for the competition later. But I can tell you, at least an hour in, I am solidly hooked. So that is all I have for a newsflash. Onabugeisha, the female samurai. In ye old days, as I like to say, there was a class of samurai that existed in feudal Japan, and they were men. And the men in those days were intended to protect their leaders, essentially. Now, women were also trained to be samurai for certain reasons, like protecting the home when the men would go off to battle.
Yeah.
And in those days, I'm going to talk about the samurai queen of Japan. Her name was Nakano Takeko. She was a prominent female warrior who fought during the Boshin War, and this was like in 1868 to 1869, and she fought against the imperial forces. And I'll get a little bit into what the Boshin War was, but she led a group of female warriors known as the Joshitai, that's like translated as female army, and she met a very tragic end in battle. And Lari is going to talk about a legendary Onabugeisha who fought in the Genpei War in 1180 to 1185. And she was one of the most famous female warriors in Japanese history, known for her bravery and combat skills.
That's right. So let me take you way, way, way back to pre-modern Japan, where, as you said, there were these classes of elite warriors named samurai. So you would train, if you were a dude, you would train your entire life in swordplay, and like war was your life. All you wanted.
Hey, dude, are you samurai?
Are you samurai?
Hey, dude, I'm a samurai too.
That's right. I want to be a hero. That was pretty much what you did. Like, I'm going to go to war, I'm going to live, and I'm going to die to be a hero. But you know what? On those few months or maybe years that we're not engaged in warfare, I'd like to get married and have a little family, okay? So when I do that, I'm going to marry this guy who's in my army. He had some kids earlier, right? So I'm going to marry his daughter over there because she's a member of the same class, the same elite warrior class. But, she can't really go out and go to war. She's probably trained some. We're going to have a little family, and when I go off to war, she's going to take care of the house. She's going to protect it.
From bandits.
That's right.
Wild bandits. So in those days, you had to protect your house against bandits, because bandits were like, when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Well, yeah. I mean, the protector's away, so you got to be able to protect your kids. That's right.
You would think.
Right.
But not these ladies.
No, not these ladies. When these ladies were married off, their dowry would sometimes include, money and things like that. Always include weapons.
Yeah, isn't that badass?
It's
and
really badass.
They would put them at the hearth, at the front door, just when people come in and be like, just to remind you, I'm locked and loaded in here.
That's right.
And I know how to use it.
That's
too.
right.
Because they taught young girls this, especially in the samurai class, you taught your girls at a very young age archery and like bow and sword skills because they had to be prepared for one day bandits.
These ladies were, not all of them were trained to be fighters, but many of them, all of them expected to be highly educated.
I mean, let's admit, like some people take to some sports, some people don't.
That's true. So probably
some girls were like, I'm totally into this. And then other ones like,
embroidery, please.
Embroidery, please. Calligraphy, please. Thank you. I'd like to just draw. I'd like so.
I'm really just an artist. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter, Daddy. But they were part of this fighting class, so they were kind of just like steeped in it and expected to do pretty well in it. So this very famous lady named Tomoe Gozen, probably not her real name. Probably not her real name.
No, but you remember in Ghostbusters, it made me think of like the evil lady in Ghostbusters whose name is Gozer. Anyway, it's just a
did not realize
side
that.
note. Well, I saw it on Friday.
So maybe Ghostbusters is loosely based on
Gozen.
Tomoe Gozen?
Perhaps.
I don't know. Gozen was kind of a usual name given to women back in the day because it would be considered rude to call a lady by her real name. Like you just maybe it's it's just like a term like woman. I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting.
This was part of the rabbit hole I decided not to go down, but probably was not her real name. But
she's
so
like
telling
mythical?
So telling you about this woman is a little like telling the legend of like King Arthur. She probably lived around sometime between the years of 1157 to 1247. So she's part myth, part legend, part truth. She was written about a lot, and, you know, by all accounts, she was one of the best female martial arts practitioners of her day. She was famed as a warrior with formidable skills. She is mentioned in several battles. So I'm going to give you, like, all these different varieties of her story, but just know she's written about enough that people are like, okay, there's some truth in this. Somewhere there is some truth in this. We used to think battle and war was only for the dudes, only for the men, but archaeological evidence is finding otherwise. There are lots more women skeletons that we're finding on old battlefields. So we're just in the midst of rethinking
it was like 30% of like old bones were female warrior class or samurai class. That's just nuts to me.
We're just rethinking this. I think it's sort of like part of, you know, rewriting our own history, you know, so we're starting.
But also like women throughout history have been like kind of like, they're like, we don't need her story. We don't really care about that. Like sexism through the years has affected the way history has been told. So,
well, exactly. That's what I'm saying is, we are now rewriting our history and hopefully to be more inclusive. Like now we're saying, you know what? History is not only the realm of rich white men.
Right.
History includes lots of other people too.
Right.
That
The Battle of the Alamo is very different now than what we were told in school.
Oh, no. Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, as far as we know, the Battle of the Alamo was like...
I thought it was just Davy Crockett saving the day.
And he has a neat hat and everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't... We were colonizing, like,
probably it's
Mexico.
More of a story now.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay. But to go back to this woman, Tomoe, she's written about in lots of different books. One is called The Tale of the Heike. I hope I'm saying that right. She's often celebrated in books, music, poems, in those old texts, which just in and of itself is incredible that we still have text from those days that we can go back to. You know what I mean? Like there aren't many books that have lasted that long. So if you're famous enough to be written about back then, we're still chatting about you now. That's pretty incredible.
You're pretty famous.
Yeah.
I know. I want to live that legend. I want to be like in 200 or 500 or 1,000 years, be like, there were two girls in a closet
The tale.
talking about.
In the tale of the Sumo Kaboom.
That's right. 1,000 years from now.
Well, it was said that this lady was known for being very beautiful. Just like in all myths, they're all beautiful. They all have
total
long,
knockout. She had
flowing
big
hair.
boobs.
Yes, she was amazing. She was excellent with horses. It said, she could tame any horse that was having a bad day. She was an excellent horse lady. She was very skilled in the use of, that it's called the naginata, which is that long staff with a curved blade at the end.
Yes, and it's good for taking on like multiple people, like
Yeah.
opponents and mounted soldiers. Like you could pokey with that thing, and then also slicey multiple people.
Yes. Well,
I feel like it's like kind of what Darth Sith, kind of like the way you would wield, Darth Sith, and he has got that long double-ended lightsaber, like.
Well, except this one isn't double-ended. This one's just got one.
Oh, okay.
I always think of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Those long poles that they use in wushu? This would be like a precursor to that, and it just really is a long pole with a curved knife at the end.
Yes.
And it's what all female samurai trained in back in the day. They were all like, you need a naginata.
Yeah, and they were also really good at close combat. They also would have knives and swords like in their sleeves, and they were trained little ones, but they were trained also for close combat as well. So the bravery that took to be like, okay, I'm gonna take on somebody close combat is pretty scary.
What I imagine is they were all trained in the naginata, and then this is probably the influence of Hollywood. They had beautiful hair updos, and they hid knives somewhere in their hair, and they were like,
Perhaps.
"Oh, you get near me."
It's like a danger comb.
I'm sure, and they also had knives on like garter belts that I'm sure that they were wearing. No,
that's
they
definitely
did not.
Hollywood.
They
that's
did not.
Totally Hollywood.
They were like Laura Croft. But in feudal Japan. That is what this woman was like. Okay, not at all. No,
but there's a lot of influence that Hollywood has had from Japanese culture and Japanese
and this is the myth. This is the myth of the athletic, dangerous, intelligent, beautiful woman. You know what I mean? Who's great at weaponry, great with horses.
Great in the sack.
Yeah, she's got it all, okay? But she is known for fighting with a katana sword, and that was really the world of men. Women did not train with a katana sword, but I guess her dad was like, you know what? You do need to know this, so I'll
teach you this like long pole thing, which is the naginata.
Yeah. So we're going to do all of the weapons. Basically, she was trained in all of the weapons. She was just as good as any of the boys around
bow
her.
and arrow as well.
Bow and arrow. Yep. She was astute. She was intelligent, which is
she could ride horseback.
I know. Which is why this guy, Minamoto Yoshinaka, really, really liked her. Now, this is back in the time. There were all these clans, samurai clans. There were like 4 big ones, and they were fighting each other over like, who's the big clan? Who's the best clan? And most of the time they would just meet and they would be like, okay, we're going to formally fight and we're going to shoot some bows and arrows at each other. And then maybe 2 people will fight and the winner will take the head of the other guy and we're going to be the clan that's on top. So she was working. Her master was this guy, Minamoto Yoshinaka, and he would send her on these intelligence gathering missions. So she was like a spy. So she was very, very good at that. And she was just like, you know what? I don't only want to be a wife. I don't want to, I'm really not interested in the household thing. I want to be a warrior. I'm good with intelligence. So this guy put her on the front row of battle, and she commanded 300 samurai warriors against 2,000 warriors of a rival clan during the war and won. This master that she served with, I guess, unswerving loyalty. Maybe she was his mistress. Maybe she was his wife. Maybe she was just a military leader under him. Who knows? Anyway, We know that she was involved in this war, the Genpai War, as you said before. She survived the war. He didn't. Okay?
Oh.
And there's lots of stories about, kind of what happened in all of these battles that she was involved in. The tale of the Heike, this is what it says about her. She was especially beautiful, with white skin, long hair, and charming features. She was also a remarkably strong archer, and as a swordswoman, she was a warrior worth 1,000, ready to confront a demon or a god, mounted or on foot. She handled unbroken horses with superb skill. She rode unscathed down perilous descents. Whenever a battle was imminent, Yoshinaka sent her out as his first captain, equipped with strong armor, an oversized sword, and a mighty bow, and she performed more deeds of valor than any of his other warriors. You got to read it just like that.
Oh, yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah. So in one battle, she's reported to have single-handedly defended a bridge against dozens of other attackers. In another battle, she's said to have killed many samurai warriors in single combat, and then killed their leader, Uchida. I'm not even going to try his last name, but Uchida tried to drag her down from her horse, and she grabbed his head, decapitated him, and then took his head back to her master as a trophy. She beheaded a lot of people. But I'm going to tell you about her most famous story. This one's from the Battle of Awazu, where they were outnumbered 6-1. Every one of their other samurai were dead, and there were left 5 standing, Tomoe and her master being 2 of the 5. And so when her master realized that the battle was lost, there were only 5 of them left, he decided he would fight to the death, but she should leave the battlefield, as he would be shamed to die fighting with a woman.
I mean, I would be too. Let's be real about it.
Or maybe...
Just kidding.
Maybe, if we want to look at it in another way, and another way the story is sometimes told, he turned to her and said, "You go away, the battle is lost, and one of us needs to survive to tell the story. You go and tell the world what happened here." There are many accounts of this moment and sort of what happened next, but it was kind of an epic battle that the story has been told over and over again. Whatever the motivations of her master, the story usually goes like this. She says, "No, I will not forsake you. For some bold warrior to match with, that Yoshinaka might see how fine a death I can die." So she screamed something poetic, and then some person stepped forward from the opposing troops. Maybe up to 30 people stepped forward and said, "I'll give you that fine death." And she met them head on. She seized the leader. She beheaded him on the pommel of her saddle. And then, of course, gave the prize to Yoshinaka. Sounds kind of familiar to the other story. Long story short, Yoshinaka, her master, died in this last stand, as he declared, either by his own hands or by those of an enemy. We don't really know. The stories really differ about what happened to her after that battle. Either she killed an opposing samurai warrior, gave the head to her master, and then escaped. Or in some other stories, she was attacked as she was running away. She was attacked by another samurai with a wooden club and forced to be his concubine and had a son with him.
Oh.
In another story, she left the battlefield after her master died and became a nun.
Oh.
In another story, I know, it's all over the map. In another
this is
story,
where legend is made
maybe she killed herself after that battle.
With seppuku.
Exactly. In others, she removed her armor, escaped to the west, went on to live into her 90s. In another story, she went on a revenge killing spree, killing all of her master's enemies. And then, once she had killed them all, she went back to the battlefield, retrieved her master's head, and then walked out into the sea, killing herself. So she had some sort of mythic end.
Yeah, and also, like, one thing to note about this lady and the lady I'm talking about is that their stories, even the myth of their stories, inspires modern day anime, movies, manga. Like, it's a modern influence. There's so many characters throughout history have been modeled upon these famous women of yesterday or yesteryear. So it makes sense, like the mythical, we don't really know the ending, but we can certainly imagine the Hollywood ending
Yeah,
in
exactly.
any number of ways.
Exactly. And that's a rare thing in the history of fighting and war, that a woman would make a difference in a traditionally male world of martial arts and, warrior history. We may not know exactly what it was, but we know that she was there. And that's, of course, that's why she's celebrated. So that is her Tomoe Gozen. And I can't wait to hear about your lady.
I will now take you on a journey through the life of a remarkable woman, Nakano Takeko. This gal was born in Edo times, so that's modern-day Tokyo was Edo. And she was born in 1846 into a samurai family where her daddy was a samurai. And with a samurai daddy, you get really great training, but you also get all kinds of other training like kendo. She also got her naginata training. She was able to train with a number of different masters of martial arts. And I mean, it should be noted, she also was into classical literature and calligraphy. So a girl can do it all.
Okay, good.
She had trained under like master swordsmen. So in a nutshell, this girl was amazing. Okay, so what happened though during her life, there was a war. And now where she was from was this place called Aizu Domain. It's like a territory. The influence of Western forces had like appeared on the Japanese shores. Now, half of Japan welcomed them in. That means industry, that they also wanted to trade with Japan. And I think Japan, for a lot of people, felt like, well, we're weakening what we have ourselves by opening it up to Western influences. Mm-hmm. Let's keep it insular. Let's keep it just us. But there were all these different areas where there was like a shogun, like a shogunate, and they competed with the emperor and the emperor's power. The emperor wanted to open up to Western influence.
Okay.
The shoguns, who were very, very strong, they had their own warrior class that would protect them and had for years. There was a really, really famous one called the Tokugawa shogunate. So she was from the opposing view. We want to keep our connection to the shogun strong. We don't believe in opening up to external challenges, external influence. And so her and her family in this one particular area, there were a lot of people that would like go to bat for the shogun and had always served the shogun. So they were known for their bravery, their commitment to the shogun. So the Boshin War, or the Battle of Aizu in 1868 was held. And what the war was is, it was just, I'll read it from, I think, Wikipedia. It was a pivotal conflict in Japan, fought between forces loyal to the Tokugawa shogunate and those seeking to return political power to the emperor, the sole emperor. And that war, that little one-year war from 1868 to 69, led to the Meiji Restoration. And that was a period of rapid modernization and the abolition of the samurai class. And that relates to sumo wrestlers and their hairstyle. Because when samurai were forbidden to exist, it was intended to bring everybody down to the same level. No one was going to challenge the power of the emperor. And also that's when they cut their hair. And the only people who were allowed to continue on with the hairstyle of a samurai was the sumo wrestler.
Okay.
So that's how it kind of relates back to our sumo wrestlers, who are the modern day representative of a samurai. So with her skill level, this war broke out. And so she went out and led a group of women, and they were all maybe not quite as good as her, but she actually trained her sister, and her mother actually went out in this pack of female warriors, and they went out and fought the forces of the imperial force.
To say, we will not give up our samurai privileges? Is that essentially what she was saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay, so also Japanese, like, they fight to the death. Like, there's honor in no matter what your viewpoint is, you fight with honor. And so there was no questioning whether it's right or wrong. It's that her side always fought, under the shogun. The shogun was opposed to the emperor and his plans for the future of a modern Japan. And so she was going to fight. And so she became immersed in the samurai spirit and supported this group of women and led them into battle. Now, what was interesting about this battle is that the guys who were in the battle on the opposing side were like, oh, no. Like, similar to your story. We don't want to fight with ladies. Like, no.
Yeah.
We're not going to go out that way, but we don't fight with ladies. Y'all go home. Y'all
certainly
have fun.
Don't want to die that way. No.
Right. Yeah. But y'all go home. This isn't really serious. So she took advantage of that. And then she knew that, imagine them being like, no, we're not. And they had rifles, by the way. So that was a major difference. So the imperial forces had the westernization. They had guns. They had rifles. And this little group of gals had the naginatas. They had their swords, and they were incredible on horse. They had their bows and arrows, but they clearly were outgunned, literally. And so she took advantage of that kind of, no, we won't fight. And then she attacked them. And she had given to her sister this directive, which was, if I should die in those days, oftentimes the opposite side would take your head back as a trophy.
Yeah.
So she, in this battle where she inflicted like heavy casualties, her and her team, and it was only like, it looked like a team of like 15 or 20 women. I was like, whoa. They inflicted heavy casualties. And then she told her sister, if I should die or if I should be injured and it's not looking good, take my head. And that's exactly what happened. She got shot in the chest. Her sister decapitated her so that it deprived the other side of being able to take her head as a trophy. And then her sister then took her head back, and it was buried under like a pine tree where there's a shrine, I think back in her hometown. And her head is buried there.
Just so you know, if you ever asked me to do that, I don't think I could comply. I really don't. That is massive training.
Asking
a lot.
A little bit too much.
Yeah.
But what if they were coming over and they were going to take my head? Then you'd be like, no. I think you might change I don't think you'd let them run off with my head.
I don't think that's such an easy thing to do. Take someone's head.
Well, this gal,
even with the Nakanata, I don't know.
All of these gals were like committed in this battle. In fact, they had declared to the soldiers who did not want to fight them that they were like, if you won't fight us, we'll just commit suicide here on the spot. With that resolve, like the
boys
soldiers,
were like, okay,
I guess I'll fight the girls today. And then the girls killed a bunch of their dudes and like were fearless. Like they were completely fearless. So I think taking of a head is like no big deal.
Oh my God.
If you've seen some stuff.
Yeah. The thinking of the samurai class is amazing, isn't it? If you will not fight me, I will kill myself.
Right. And then that's on you. And then you're the wuss in this situation.
Ugh.
But this class was prepared to die.
Yeah,
they were prepared.
I know, at all costs. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that like her legacy endures. The Aizu domain, for which she gave her life, like this area, that whole samurai class, it was defunct, essentially. That was the beginning of the Meiji period. So that's when the shoguns and all that went away. So it was like up until her last breath, she fought in loyalty, honor, and courage. And then it all went the other way.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Okay,
Could
but my
you imagine?
question... No, I cannot imagine. My question is, what happened to her sister?
I think her sister went on to tell the story. I think
she was like, run away. Tell the people. They have to know what happened here.
Well, I don't know. She ended up with the head. So I imagine she was like, I got the head. I'm going to peace out. Y'all keep fighting. I don't know. I don't know
Maybe
if
she became
her mom
a nun.
made it.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Oh my God. Maybe she walked out into the ocean and was never seen again.
Who knows?
I'm sure she never slept again. Can you imagine the nightmares?
No,
No.
I can't, because again, if in battle I was asked to take your head, I would be like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa,
whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I mean, I love you, but like, I got my limits.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know. If I'm in battle and I'm fighting people, I mean, maybe that spirit would come through, and my samurai spirit would come through, and I'd be like,
oh, I've taken it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I'm sure I missed some stuff about her. But did I tell you her name? I did.
I did, but tell it to me again.
Takeko Nakano.
And this is a lady you can look up online. Her picture's there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because somehow we have pictures of her.
Well, there's one picture where she looks too pretty, and they're like, we think this picture is like a actor dressed as this lady. So we don't really know.
Okay.
But could you imagine like fighting to the death and the samurai class being demolished or being abolished, and then you're like this lasting persistence of Japanese culture, you know? And we still see it in stories and bravery and shrines and this kind of spirit of the female samurai, which is amazing. And I think, you know, history has washed out that bit. I mean, maybe if you're Japanese, it's very much there. But I think to the rest of the world who doesn't get Japanese culture every day, you might be like, samurai are just men, you know? And there wasn't. There was a badass group of ladies who were kicking butt in ye olde Japan.
While researching this topic, I found my way to a short on YouTube called The Blind Samurai. Did you by any chance watch it?
Mm-mm.
I
was watching
good.
3 hours of Shona
eating
no Umi
contest?
shove his face. I had other important things to do.
Well, it's great. I mean, there are people out there telling stories of female samurai. I love samurai movies just in and of themselves. I'm just a huge fan of them. And so then anytime I find one that's about women, I just love it even more. I really do. So that's what made this week such a joy in getting to find out, wow, there's a number. There's not just a handful. There's a number of women in Japanese cultural history that are remembered for being female samurai. And it made me want to look them all up.
Yeah. I mean, the list, I don't know where I came across it, but there was like a list of the women who fought in the Joshitai with her. And I was just like, and it gave like who they were, what their, you know, daughter of a samurai class, this. And there's even different classifications within the samurai class. And this lady was like of the very top level of samurai class. Her family was. So there's like a lot that we don't know.
And anyone who's descended from that line, I don't know how many of them have children, but if you can claim that person as your ancestor, how fabulous would that be to say, I'm descended?
She didn't make it. She didn't have kids. But her sister, I don't think so. She's busy fighting. And but her sister who got the head, maybe.
Oh, okay.
We don't know. We don't know. But her mom fought in the battle, and I should look up like what happened to her mom.
Yeah.
Maybe her mom stayed with her headless body. I don't know. I know. Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
I mean, this is a culture that talks about seppuku. You know, they've done some crazy things in their lives.
Well,
in
and
their past.
The judges are still carrying around a sword to commit seppuku
if they're wrong.
They get it wrong in sumo wrestling.
I know, that's crazy. But you know what? I love that representation of Japan's kind of, I don't know, their spirit. They call it Bushido, I think. And Bushido spirit is the Bushido spirit is loyalty, honor, and courage until your last breath.
May we all have Bushido.
Exactly. Anyway, I guess that's it. We will be in Japan and in like between 2 and 3 weeks. And we're going to be at the tournament. We have tickets somewhere in that place. all of our listeners who are in Tokyo, hit us up. We've been able to chat with a couple of people and trying to figure out how we can meet up if it's possible. I'm still looking for that like American style bar where you can just like tell people to like meet you there and then everybody just shows up there. But I think in Japan it might be something different. You gotta have a reservation. But anyway, come say hi to us if you happen to see us at the tournament. We might be wearing our Sumo Kaboom shirts. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
And thanks for everyone who's been sending out the support financially and else, and also
Just
giving us
suggestions.
recommendations of places to see. That's been so helpful. So keep those coming. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, y'all.
All right. Till next week, I'm Leslie.
Lori, bye.
Bye.